If you would ask me what's the most important thing in a relationship, I would tell you it's trust. I know it sounds boring, but hear me out. I have been in a relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and currently I'm in a good one. So I know what I'm talking about. But let's break it down a little bit. The concepts of trust and mistrust and losing trust. And what does it mean for us to trust somebody or not to trust somebody? First of all, there are different kinds of issues that you want to trust one another or you want to trust your spouse. If we talk about this kind of daily situations that may seem to be light but aren't actually that light, we might think that, for example, a person that is always late, are they unreliable? Really? Well, if you are late once, that's a mistake, that's a bus running late, that's a car needing fuel. But if they are always late, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, they maybe tell you that they are late, or they may not tell you that they are late, or they may not show up at all. That's kind of a big issue. And that tells you a few things. First of all, they do not do as they tell you they will do. And you are not in their priority list, not very high in it. If you were, they would be on time. And that they cannot be trusted to do as they say. You might think that this is this kind of nitty-gritty thing and it's boring to complain about this kind of thing that somebody is late. And there are people that are always late and they are fabulous otherwise. Well, no, they are not, and no, there is not. Of course, there are people that are always late. They're called selfish and they're called narcissists and they are called people who die alone and miserable. But there is no fabulous kind of human beings that have that just one flaw, and it's being late. No, there is not. And it spreads to the other things and other areas of life too. It's not just being late. Unfortunately, I've seen how this works. Well, that's the one thing. But what about other things? Well, there is a certain kind of a type of persons that are not trustworthy in another way. And they are those who make decisions that should be both of you. They make decisions that you should do together by themselves. So, for example, one day you come at home and there is a brand new car in the driveway. They went and bought themselves a new car because they needed it and you could afford it. But it's such a big investment that they should really talk to you first. This is not that kind of a decision that you make lightly and you make by whim or you make as a secret for your spouse. So that's another kind of a mistrust or breach of trust, to make decisions whatever they are when they should have been mutual decisions and they make them themselves. That makes you feel very vulnerable and financially unsafe. So that's another kind of mistrust, another kind of breach of trust. And of course there is the third thing, the emotional side. And that's maybe the one that hurts us most. Of course, the ultimate breach of trust in that category is having an affair. And that's very obvious, and that's condemned in most cultures, and that is not okay. And even the most stupidest of people know that. But there are many other ways to hurt and to breach your trust emotionally. And that's by belittling you or saying things that do not comment on what you do, but they comment on what you are. And that's a breach of trust in emotional level. Because that's a situation that you cannot do anything about. And that's not something that is your fault, it's something that you are. And you should feel safe in that kind of regard with your spouse. And all of this kind of a practical way of being not trustworthy, financial issues, big decisions, emotional side, they all come to the same conclusion. You want to feel safe. And you have a right to expect that your spouse wants to shield you from these things, wants to protect you for not being hurt in these things. And that's why trust is the number one thing in a relationship. You need to be able to feel safe with someone in order to grow, to love them, in order to be able to be yourself, to be your true authentic selves, so that you can actually know each other. You can actually know who your spouse is, and they can know who you are, how you think, what you think, and how you feel. Because there is no reason in a relationship where you put up a front for your spouse, where you pretend to be somebody else, you pretend to be a better person that you actually are, and finer and nicer. It may work for a while, but it's extremely tiresome, and it's not a real relationship. And only real relationship, if you ask me, are worth the while. So, if you have trust, then you can have everything else. If you do not have trust, you cannot have love. You can have fun, but it's not long lasting. And if you have that kind of fun, then the fall from that is quite hard. If you want to have a family, if you want to have a future, you have to have trust. Otherwise, it's just fight for survival. And that's not the life that we want. That's not the life that we should be aiming for. And I know that there are bad relationships and ugly relationships, but if you notice that you are in one, then consider your options. Consider your value. Are you worth more than this? But that's maybe a topic for another video. But what comes to trust, there is this tricky thing. First, you can trust someone, but your trust can be let down, can be breached in a way that is unrepairable. And that's one thing, that you can fall out of love, but you can fall in again. But you cannot make amends. You cannot correct everything. There are, of course, things that can be forgiven, like truly forgiven. I don't talk about this kind of we forgive everything. That doesn't exist. That's a bogus. And that's not real. If we start, or I in this channel, I try to be real and try to encourage people to be real and take the chance that you might get hurt, but you might live a better life by being real. But what kind of breach of trusts are there? And what are worth even considering to forgive? Well, I have always thought that people can make mistake once. Twice is a pattern, 3 is a habit. So whatever it is, whether they were late, or they bought a car without telling you and asking about it, or they even had a fare, maybe a really short one. and flimsy and drunk. So if they are truly sorry and they truly understand what's in stake here, they can say that they are sorry, they can make amends, they can try harder, and they can earn your trust back. Maybe. That's in your hands. But if they do it over and over again, then it's a pattern, and it's not worth a while to try to believe that you want to trust them and you just have to try harder. It doesn't lead anywhere, and it's not worth your time. Of course, when we meet somebody, we want to trust them. That's like the basic setting, and I think that that's really good if we are ready to believe the best in people unless they prove us otherwise. And then you can live together and fall in love with them, and everything might go well if you are lucky and you realize that you can trust them. But sometimes that trust is broken, and you'll be blaming yourself that you should have known, you should have seen, because something happened very early on. And many times you can understand it later on, that what did that actually mean that happened at your first or second date even. But you cannot blame yourself. You are good as you are, and because you believe the good in people makes you a special person. And that's the only right way to go. If we start doubting everybody, we cannot find anybody, and we cannot get to know anybody, and we cannot, I don't even know how to say that, but we cannot be known by anyone because we don't open up. We are not truly there. We are not authentic. We are on guard all the time. I am, my husband says, famous of being on guard all the time. And yes, I am. I'm very skeptic of people. But sometimes that happens. If you see too many times people letting you down, then you do not expect anybody to not to let you down. But let's try not to go there, but be on the positive side. So, to capture it, trust is the most important thing in a relationship. And work on it that you trust people, and work on it that you are trustworthy to your spouse and to other people. That's extremely precious thing, especially in modern day society, where people do not think every day that God will punish them if they do not live up to the expectations. But I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Goodbye.